In a society bred for consumerism, the more we have, the less we feel like we have. This goes for physical products as well as emotional well-being. No matter what happens, how great things are, or how happy something may make you, we always find ourselves back in that lonely place looking for the next thing to fill the void. Why aren't we ever satisfied? Welcome to Collecting Bugs, the podcast. This is Tia, and if you're watching, hi. Oh my gosh, the podcast is now available in video format. It is so lovely to see you here. I hope it's the same for you. A little bit nervous. I haven't been actually on camera in over 2 years. It may have been 3 years ago, the last time I actually filmed a proper YouTube video. That's crazy. I don't know. It's the second month. Thought we could step things up, feeling a little bit more confident. I also film these a month in advance, so I have a lot more time to just kind of mentally prepare and edit an audio podcast and a video podcast. Much harder than you probably think. Second little note here, I usually film in my veranda on my porch, but since this is a month before you're seeing this, if you remember, hopefully this isn't still a problem, New Jersey is covered in smoke, which is so funny because I just released the first episode about going outside and getting fresh air. I'm literally wearing a mask outside and not a mask inside. It's like COVID reversed. So not great timing on my end, but also not great timing on capitalism's end. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I dusted off my DSLR for this, so thank you. Thank you for being here. This week's bug of the week is the ant. They love my house. I'm so honored. They're strong, they're cute, but I wanted to mention them specifically on Collecting Bugs because of a fun fact I recently learned. So we view ants as really hard workers, like they each have their own little job and they're always hustling, but that's not even true. Even ants relax. There's only a small group in the colony that actually does the work. The rest just chill out. Let's take a page from the ant book and relax, despite the expectations we place on them, like all the expectations placed on us. Today, I wanted to discuss why no matter what we do to improve our lives, we always find ourselves at the same baseline. Some of us have been glowing up for years, reinventing ourselves and cultivating new identities. And no matter how much we buy or do, we still hate ourselves. We still feel less than, if not more than before. Why? The first thing that sparked the Collecting Bugs idea was seeing all of those how to glow up, how to reinvent yourself, how to level up videos and thinking, what is so wrong with us? It's so weird. It's like there's always something to fix. And then I would watch the videos, and no offense to those influencers, I'm sure they have pure intentions, but most of the tips that they give are just buying more useless shit. I just watched one in preparation to this video. It was like how to glow up for summer 2023. And the first thing was drink more water, and it was to promote these little water drops, like little vitamin drops that you put in your water. It's like, and this is where I've been getting a lot of comments like this, like, okay, yeah, I understand that there's toxic self-help and it's all rooted in capitalism, but these things are actually good for you. Like drinking more water and doing Pilates and getting up early are all good for you. Being productive is good for you. I'm not saying that it's not. Two things can be true at once. That's where it's like there's a threshold, I think, of healthy self-improvement stuff, and then it becomes toxic at a certain point. So most of these videos or the tips that they give is just like, here's another useless thing you can buy, if not outright selling something, like if it's a sponsored video, and telling you how to fit into a certain aesthetic. I'm not anti-creators being sponsored, but I am anti making people feel like there's something they need to improve about themselves as a way to sell something. Improve your skin's texture with this overpriced serum, and make sure to use my code at checkout. They're creating a problem, your human adult skin not looking like a porcelain doll's, and giving you a solution, the serum. But if they never pointed it out, would you have even considered it? Would you have given it a second thought that your skin has texture? How many times have you seen a video on TikTok that made you feel insecure about something that you have never given a second thought? I'm gonna make an entire episode about the beauty industry and how it's fueled by capitalists who profit off of people's insecurities, because it's honestly such a huge topic, and realizing the effects that it had on me personally prompted so many changes for like how I live my life. Like I save so much money and I don't have to worry about shaving or doing anything that I don't want to do, because that's the thing, and something I'm so convinced of, like we'll die on this hill. Most of our waking hours are spent doing things that we would not do without capitalist influence. So I do think creators need to be more mindful of the brands they work with and how they're selling the products. I don't think it's responsible for an influencer with a primarily female audience to promote an anti-aging product in a video about glowing up. That might sound backwards, like, okay, in what other video would you promote that? But first of all, no one is putting a gun to their head and making them promote it. And second of all, it all feeds into this idea that if you don't look this specific certain way, which is usually rooted in racism and sexism, you need to fix it, and you can do that with this product I'm making money off of. So in a way, they're also profiting off of their followers' insecurities. Sorry, I just kind of went off. Like I said, I'm making an entire episode about this, but it does tie into never being satisfied, because there's always something new that we need. Do you ever notice that? How there's just always something new that we need to buy or need to do? Since we are constantly comparing ourselves to others on social media, there will always be something that we don't have, whether it be emotional, material, physical. They will always be better in some way. Of course, we can logically look at that and say, well, they're putting on a show. That's a highlight reel. Everyone knows that. No one's life is actually that perfect. But it's been crafted out of stone to elicit that feeling of lack within you. It's been engineered to make you feel like shit. And our monkey brains are so high on the dopamine from interacting with this comment, so we're not exactly thinking clearly. Our brains are in survival when we're introduced to something that we feel like we need, you know? Because then it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna die if I don't get that. I'm gonna be alone if I don't get that. I'm going to be not accepted if I don't get that. I also want to introduce a phenomenon that psychologists have been studying, and it's believed to be the source of our general unhappiness. It's called the hedonic treadmill, or hedonic adaptation. Hedonism is the pursuit of pleasure. You know, when something amazing happens, like you get the job, your crush asks you out, you win the lottery, whatever it is, you know, when that happens, and you get this insane rush of happy chemicals, that's hedonism. But then after that surge of happiness has subsided, you usually return to the same baseline. You think, once I get the house, I'll be happier. Once I make 6 figures, I'll be happier. But other than that initial surge, it doesn't seem to make a difference. This is the hedonic treadmill. It also applies for negative situations. When something horrible happens, most of the time after that initial period of grief and sadness, we return to a baseline. Things get easier to deal with over time. It makes sense that we would evolve to have this kind of adaptation to deal with the tragedies in life. We need to eventually recover. We need to be able to adjust to life's constant ups and downs. Everything is always changing. We need to have that baseline to fall back on. We need to have a place for those strong feelings to go so we can deal with the present moment. It's a survival technique. But is it possible to raise our baseline? If we're usually depressed and something great happens, or we impulse buy something on Instagram to get a hit of dopamine, we're just gonna go back to being depressed after we come down. So how do we get the feelings to stick? How can great things improve our mood instead of make us feel worse in comparison? Sometimes life changes do lead to lifelong happiness. Like generally getting married leads to a happier life. Married people are statistically happier than widows or people who choose to never get married. But in order to find out how to prolong that hedonic feeling, we need to know where our happiness even comes from. Happiness is hard to study because it's so subjective. Like, how can you measure something like that? But here is what we think we know so far. A lot of our happiness comes from our genetics. About half of it, actually. So that I can't help you with. However, about 40% of our happiness is influenced by our behaviors. The remaining 10%, find out after you die, because I don't know. There is research on life events that prolonged hedonistic joy versus ones that did not have a lasting effect on happiness. Something that seems to have a huge impact is whether or not you're doing it to compete with others. Yes. Studies show that if you do something for its own sake, because it's something that you value and something you truly want to do, regardless of whether or not anyone else is doing it, the feelings of happiness stay longer. If you're doing it because someone else is doing it, the happiness is inherently shallow and wears off quicker. Also, sentimental value seems to make happiness last longer. Overall, the more that's associated with the event, the longer the happiness lasts. If it was a sensory experience, it lasts longer too, because there's a physical sensation associated with the event. Now, kind of going back to what I was talking about before, how we seem to be always kind of chasing something, like if I buy the house, if I meet the love of my life, if I make 6 figures, this or that, I'll finally be happy. This is called the arrival fallacy. According to Tal Ben-Shahar, a Harvard-trained positive psychology expert, the arrival fallacy is this illusion that once we make it, once we attain our goal or reach our destination, we will reach lasting happiness. The same psychologists theorize that this is why certain Hollywood actors start abusing substances and are generally unhappier later on in life, because they started out unhappy, but they're like, now that I'm accomplishing these great things, I'm gonna be happy. But then something interesting happens after we accomplish something really great. When we usually have that baseline of being unhappy, we get to this place, we're like, finally, and then we're like, now what? And when it doesn't create that lasting happiness, not only are we still unhappy, but now we don't have hope. That's where it gets dangerous. Why do we get caught in this fallacy? Well, when we consider the things that truly make us happy, like the number one predictor of happiness is the quality of your relationships. And if you're pursuing something that you think will give you happiness, you tend to neglect your relationships. We have it all backwards. Is there anything else that we can do? Yes, but you're not going to want to hear it. It's not sexy or flashy. It's boring. You've heard it a million times, but that's why I created this show. We need to stick to the basics. Number 1, mindfulness. This could be meditation, practicing presence, sticking to the present moment, not being so far ahead or over here, back here. You can focus on the things that matter. You don't get so caught up in the what ifs, because I think when you're really mindful and you're present, you can notice all of the things that are already great. Kind of piggybacking off of that is number 2, thinking positive thoughts. It's like, no shit, right? For me, I'm kind of like, yeah, if I could think positive thoughts, I would do that. You know what I mean? But I think the mindfulness can lead us to a place of gratitude, which then can help us think positive thoughts. Number 3, getting into a flow state. A flow state is like when you're playing a sport or music, something you're really passionate about, and you get so in it, you're so present in that activity, and just being so creative definitely contributes to lasting happiness. And the last one is engaging in selfless acts of service. I want to do a whole episode also on random acts of kindness, because it's so underrated. I think we think in our heads, whatever random act of kindness we feel the urge to do isn't going to make the impact that we think it's going to. Like when we see somebody, I see a girl and I love her outfit, and I might get nervous and think, she doesn't care what I think. It doesn't matter, and I don't step out of my comfort zone and compliment her outfit. Studies show it makes way more of an impact than we could even imagine. Just some ideas: complimenting somebody, a stranger on the street, if you like their outfit, you like their hair, whatever it is. You like their smile, you like their laugh. Leaving little sticky notes everywhere. Obviously don't litter, but like on bathroom stalls or like whatever, with just like words of affirmation, or like, you look so great today. I like doing that at the gym. Writing a little note, like if you go to a restaurant, and writing a note on the receipt for the waitress or whatever. I lied. This is the last one. And it's the kicker. The ability to engage in simple hedonic pleasures. It means eat a piece of the cake, put music on, and dance in your living room. Roll your windows down. Not right now if you're on the East Coast, but generally have fun. Yes, the hedonic feeling will go away. It's naturally fleeting, but if you are unable to enjoy the simple things, the big things will not last. In fact, the inability to enjoy simple pleasures is a marker for many very serious health conditions. Indulgences improve your overall well-being. Relaxing, having fun, all of life's pleasures. This is probably my most important episode so far. This is what I'm trying to drive home. Enjoy the simple things. That's what matters the most. Cliche, but there's a reason for that. Okay, I'm done. Follow me at Collecting Bugs Podcast on Instagram. All the links are below. You can watch the podcast on Spotify and on YouTube. I really appreciate you being here with me today and every Tuesday, and I'll see you next week. Actually, I'll see you and you'll see me. Okay, bye.